I'm Julie Pace at the White House, where President Barack Obama unveiled a series of middle-class economic initiatives today. And here to break down some of the details, White House economist Jared Bernstein. Some of the things the president was talking about today: we've got caps on student loan payments, we've got tax breaks for childcare, increase in retirement savings, but there's some criticism that these are too small or too piecemeal in their effect.
I would strongly disagree with that. The president is targeting these initiatives at the heart of something that he has been attuned to ever since his career, dating back to when he was a community organizer, his time in the Senate, certainly his couple of years on the campaign trail with the vice president, and that's ways in which middle-class family budgets are squeezed. Now, obviously, we talk a great deal about the urgency of jobs and growth, and that remains our top priority. But middle-class families know that when it comes to the debt burden of a college loan, when it comes to child care, maybe elder care for folks in that sandwich generation, when it comes to retirement security, they need help. Their budgets have been squeezed for decades on this, predating the recession. The policies that were announced today go right at that target, and I think they do so in a way that's going to make a real difference for middle-class families.
What about these middle-class families that say, that's great, I actually could use some of these things, but we're not going to see these things until next year if the president's budget gets passed? What are you going to say for them now?
Well, I think you have to take account of the actions that the president, our administration, and other economic institutions like the Federal Reserve have taken since really before we got here, in terms of planning, for example, the largest federal stimulus or Recovery Act package in the history of our nation. Now, clearly we're facing a job market still reeling from the greatest recession since the Great Depression. But remember, that Recovery Act started creating jobs right away and has created or saved 2 million jobs so far. That's not just our estimate, that's one by the Congressional Budget Office and other independent. So it's not like we waited till now to address these problems. In fact, we hit the ground running on some of the biggest problems we faced. Have we solved them? Are we out of the woods? Far from it. But I think one of the things you can get from an announcement like today is that we have not stopped to think about every dimension wherein we can help middle-income families, both in terms of their meeting their budgets and creating the economic environment for job growth.
Finally, if I'm a middle-class family watching the President's State of the Union on Wednesday night, what's the takeaway you want them to get out of this speech?
You know, I think the takeaway that I want is probably less relevant than the takeaway that the president has put into that speech and that they will get. I'm not going to highlight the speech. I want to let my boss do that. What I will say is that this is a speech that gives middle-class families, I think, a lot to hold on to, much like the kinds of announcements that we were highlighting today, but put into a much larger context about not only the global economy, but the president's economic agenda. And at the heart of that agenda is the well-being of middle-class families, and I think that's what's going to come out of that speech.
As always, thank you very much. Jared Bernstein, White House economist. For the Associated Press, I'm Julie Pace.